So we'll move on to question number 5. Peter Chapman.
Thank you, Presiding Officer. To ask the First Minister what the Scottish Government is doing to provide support for people with dementia.
First Minister.
Well, of course, this is Dementia Awareness Week, and I'm pleased to say that this Government has maintained a priority focus on dementia since 2007. We have prioritised national support for staff education, training and development across all care settings, improved dementia care standards for everyone with a diagnosis of dementia, regardless of where they live, their age or the severity of their illness, and we have ensured the provision of high-quality, person-centred post-diagnostic support. We will publish our new dementia strategy in the coming weeks, which will set out in further detail the work that we and our partners will undertake to improve support, care and treatment for people with dementia, their families and their carers in the years ahead.
Peter Chapman.
Thank the First Minister for her answer, but as usual, to hear that answer, you would think that everything was fine. Totally out of touch as usual. So let me tell her what the real world looks like. In the North East, I'll tell you what the real world looks like. I'll tell you what the real world looks like.
Order.
I'll tell you what the real world looks like, folks. In the North East, the number of people diagnosed with dementia has increased by more than 44% in the last decade. However, in 2014-15 in NHS Grampian, only 23% of people diagnosed were referred for post-diagnostic support. So what will the Scottish Government do to ensure people in remote and rural areas are able to access the support they require?
First Minister.
Well, you know, here, as in so many other areas, of course, Scotland, like other countries, have got more work to do. We are seeing more and more people diagnosed with dementia as the population lives longer. One of the things that Scotland is recognised for internationally, though, is our high rates of diagnosis of dementia. Because any expert you speak to, and this is true of any condition, of course, but it's particularly true of dementia because of the nature of support that is required, that early diagnosis is essential. So we're actually leading the world in terms of getting people diagnosed early. We've got more work to do in terms of the provision of post-diagnostic support, but again, we are way ahead of most other countries when it comes to putting in place post-diagnostic services. In the next few weeks, I think later this month, in fact, we will publish our new dementia strategy, which will build on those commitments and set out what we aim to achieve in the years ahead. But let me tell you something we will not be doing here in Scotland, and that is imposing a dementia tax on old people. I'm proud that in Scotland, for over 65s, we have free personal and nursing care. For older people that are eligible for nursing and personal care, that means a contribution of nearly £13,000 a year if you have to fund your own care from the state. Now, that doesn't take away the burden on personal resources, but it significantly reduces it. We will also not be ensuring that somebody's own house is part of their financial assessment if they're receiving care in their own home, something the Tories are planning to do in England. So on this, as in so many other areas, we've got work to do, but I'm proud that when it comes to a progressive approach to dementia, when it comes to a progressive approach to paying for social care, Scotland is so much further ahead than anywhere else in the UK. And next week, we've got to make sure we don't allow Tories to drag us backwards.
Marie Todd.
Thank you, Presiding Officer. I think I know the answer, but does the First Minister agree with me that the dementia tax, which is essentially a plot to allow the financial services industry to asset-strip dementia sufferers, has to be one of the most inhumane manifesto pledges ever devised?
First Minister.
Yes. I think from a sedentary position, Ruth Davidson is trying to defend it just as Ruth Davidson defends the rape clause, another inhumane Tory policy. But not only is the dementia tax in principle wrong, what is completely beyond belief is that we have a Prime Minister who's put forward that policy who now cannot answer even the most basic questions about it. There was firstly to be no cap on the cost of care, then there's to be a cap, but nobody in the Tories can tell anybody where the level of that is going to be set, just as they can't tell anybody what the means test for the winter fuel allowance is going to be, who's going to lose it, who's going to retain it. Ruth Davidson says, oh, you don't have to worry about that in Scotland, but they won't tell us how much money they'll devolve to go with the power. Are they going to devolve the budget for the winter fuel allowance now? Are they going to do, as they did with employment support, lop money off it before they do so? The Tory manifesto, published a couple of weeks ago, was nothing short of an assault on pensioners' benefits. The triple lock for pensions to go, the winter fuel allowance to go, and a dementia tax. So I think it's very clear for pensioners across Scotland. If you want to make sure Theresa May doesn't have the power to take away your benefits and your protections, make sure you've got strong MPs standing up for you.